YouTube world, my name is Nicholas Montez, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Nicholas Montez. Okay, so today is March 18th. Technically, yes, I know you're thinking, why are you making a video when you're supposed to be in school? Well, technically, school's technically over now if it's a normal day, but if you guys don't know, tomorrow starts my first day of spring break, but technically today, because I didn't go to school, technically starts today. So, and technically we had an early release, but I didn't really want to go because what's the point of going there if we're just gonna do makeup work? What's the point of that? But really, it had to do with my parents because they make the rules around here. But anyways, I'm back after Sunday, but today I'm here to talk about the new film from HBO Max from the DCEU, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, before we get into the review of the movie, there's a couple things that we really need to talk about. First off, we need to talk about what is Zack Snyder's Justice League, and second, what are my initial thoughts on when the movie was announced. So let's talk about what it is. So, Zack Snyder's Justice League is basically a film that is a Justice League movie directed by Zack Snyder, which is one of the DCEU directors who I believe directed Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, and directed the theatrical cut of Justice League. But he's one of the directors of the DC Extended Universe. But so why is this movie made? Like, what it is? So why was it being made? So in 2017. Now, I don't want to dive too much into details, but this is what I really think, and then I'll tell you what's really true. So at first, if you guys don't know, we did have a actual Justice League film that came out back in 2017, and this one was directed by Zack Snyder, but it was also directed by Josh Whedon, and who also directed the first Avengers film of the MCU. And my theory was that because Josh Whedon did such a good job on the first Avengers, because it was so good, it handled the character dynamics very, very well, it handled the action very well, the humor, it basically handled a bunch of things very well. I thought that since Justice League is kind of like the Avengers, the DC version of the Avengers, then he would be able to make a new DC film that would just shock a bunch of people. That's not really what happened, but that's technically what my theory was. But technically what happened is they brought in Josh Whedon. Well, actually, here's the full story. So, 5 years ago, Zack Snyder's daughter died. And I guess because he was dealing with the death of his daughter, Josh Whedon came in and he wanted to, the studio wanted him to finish writing some stuff. They wanted him to finish the movie, I guess. And when the movie came out, it was not succeeded very well. First off, people were not happy with the way they did the characters, especially with Flash, Cyborg, and Batman. People were disappointed with those characters. Well, Cyborg, I kind of liked Cyborg in the original cut, but Flash and Batman, people were mad at because with Batman, he wasn't like he was in Batman vs Superman. I've never seen the Batman vs Superman, but I know what he's like, and that because if you watch those warehouse sequence, you know what I'm talking about, where he's just this brutal guy that just beats the crap out of people. In this movie, he's cracking jokes, and Batman's not really supposed to be that. And granted, he is the guy that led this team, but he doesn't really do that. He does that by doing jokes, and it didn't work for a lot of people. But also, Flash, in the theatrical cut, people were not happy with him because he was basically just a butt end of a joke, and people did not like that. I don't really understand why people didn't like Cyborg, but I liked Cyborg. And then Aquaman, I would say I don't really think Aquaman bothered me as much. I thought he was fine. I definitely think he played a fun role, but I don't think he played a fantastic role. I definitely think he played a better role in his own movie, but Yeah, but you know, everybody loved Wonder Woman and Superman because, come on, they're two of the best DCEU heroes. Come on. They're two of the best heroes in the DCEU. But also, everybody didn't like Steppenwolf, and they didn't like the story, and like they trimmed down the movie to like 2 hours, and like they had this done in like 2 hours. Like the movie was 2 hours long. And people just were not happy with it. And also, people were not happy with the character of Steppenwolf and, like, the CGI. And people were just not happy with it. But, because Zack Snyder's such a good director, we got this one. But now let's talk about my general thoughts on the movie. My general thoughts on when it was announced. So, when we got the trailer back at DC Fandom, I believe that was the time when the first trailer of Zack Snyder's Justice League happened. When the first trailer got released, it was pretty clever. I liked how it had the Hallelujah song, but it just seemed very dark and seemed just very weird to me. And the way I thought it was gonna be bad because, you know, they were bringing in Apocalypse, and obviously they did have Steppenwolf back, but he just looked awful, and I'm like, how are you going to redo this? It literally looks like the same thing, just with Superman having the black suit, Steppenwolf looking different, the villain that is way. We have two villains, Darkseid and Steppenwolf. Like it doesn't feel right to me. But I do have some thoughts on it, so let's start talking about it. And the first thing you need to talk about is that I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. This was a very good movie. First off, one of the complaints that I just said about the original cut of Justice League is that people did not like the characters of Cyborg and Flash. Well, I actually like the character of Cyborg a lot more in this movie. Like, I still cared for him in the relationship between his father and the original cut, but here I think it's explained well more, and I think the relationship with his father and the way his backstory is, with losing his mom and then losing his dad, like, his character is so great. Granted, it does feel familiar to what we've seen before, where it really just has a story about loss. And that's basically what this character is all about, is loss. And really kind of, like, he has no one else, and he got tortured. Well, I mean, he's basically got ruined when his body, when he was gonna die, but his father saved him by using one of the mother boxes. So yeah, Cyborg is also very interesting. Beyond that, also Flash, I will say this, Cyborg is the best character that has the best improvement. But Flash is another character that I actually did like, where in the original cut, like I said, he usually was the butt end of a joke, where he basically just, like, one time where he gave the sword back to Wonder Woman, and then he tripped, and then he landed in Wonder Woman's boobs. Like, he has a lot of awkward moments in that film, but he does have some likability into that film too. But in this film, he's used properly. He's not, granted, he does give little jokes here and there, but he's not used just for a joke. Like, he's used as like a main character of the film. Like, he's used seriously. And also, when he gets hurt, I'm like, oh no, please. Like, you feel his pain as he has like this fire thing in his hip, I think, or something like that. And it's just, ugh. And also Batman, I would say that people said that they liked Batman in this movie. I liked how they didn't technically do those jokes like they did in the other original film. But I actually liked the way they did him in this movie. Granted, he wasn't the most improved character. Flash and Cyborg were definitely the improvements. along with another character we'll talk about later. But Batman, I will say, is a pretty good character. He's much better in this film than what he was in the original cut. But and also I thought that they kind of brought a little bit of the rated R-ness of what we saw in Batman vs Superman with the warehouse sequence. Here we kind of get a little bit more of that in the third act when he's basically just fighting the parademons, kicking them in the face, throwing bombs at them, using guns. I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of Batman using guns, but for me, here it works. I think it works here. Also, we gotta talk about the other characters that of course, both in the original cut and this film, they're both standouts, which are Wonder Woman and Superman. I thought they were fantastic in their roles, but I think Superman just has to be the better character overall. Because Superman, granted, he's not in the movie that much, but when he's brought back, and then, his character is just so interesting to me. Because he just comes from this guy that just really is a kid from Kryptonian. He doesn't know how to use his powers. He's this kid that gets bullied by kids. He tries to defend a girl. And his character is just very interesting from Man of Steel all the way up till this film. And it's just fantastic. When he is just going through that little Kryptonian realm thing, and he's exploring like his father, his human father, and then he gets his black suit. He just has such an incredible arc in this film. And when he gets the black suit, I was like, yes! And when he fights Steppenwolf, I was like, yes, yes, yes! Because like he literally saves Cyborg, and in the original cut, Steppenwolf's literally like cutting Cyborg to death. Like he gets him 2 times. He like tries to cut. He literally cuts his leg off. Of course, he's a cyborg, so he can put it back on. But yeah, so Superman is also a fantastic character in this film. But also Wonder Woman, another great performance. But hers, that scene where she's saving the people. Fantastic scene. I love that sequence. It really just defines, it just gives us another scene of what makes Wonder Woman so awesome in this universe. I love that. Another thing you gotta talk about is that I liked how they brought some characters, some cameos, like Jared Leto's Joker, Willem Dafoe's Vulko from Aquaman. I thought the way they brought those characters back, like, I was surprised seeing Willem Dafoe in this movie, because I didn't see him in the trailers, so that was actually a pretty good surprise. And then Joker, we saw him in the trailers, but I wish that he could have been a bigger part. Honestly, I feel like he could have been a bigger part. I don't know. I just feel like he could have been. Also, I actually kind of like Steppenwolf a little bit more in this film, because in the original one, he was basically just a guy that, basically, the story for him was not great. I don't really know how to explain it, but it wasn't great. In this film, since, you know, he's technically the to-do boy for Darkseid, he has actually a pretty good relationship. I like the relationship with Darkseid and all that stuff. It really does it very well. Granted, he's not like a great DCEU villain, but still. But the relationship between Darkseid is really what adds him a little bit better to what he was in the original cut. And then also you gotta talk about some of the action sequences. The fights in here, especially when it comes to the third act, are fantastic. Like I mentioned earlier, with the Wonder Woman sequence where she's saving the people in that building, fantastic sequence where it kind of reintroduces the character into this movie, and it's just fantastic. And like literally the fight with Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Aquaman kind of feels a little bit similar to what happened in Avengers Endgame, when after Thanos destroys the ship, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America fight Thanos and has all these awesome moments. But it wasn't really like that, but it felt similar to it. Also, you gotta talk about the ending. So, the ending was fantastic because we finally got the first look at Martian Manhunter in the DCEU. Like, I don't know much about Martian Manhunter, but when I saw him out the window, I was like, he looks like a character I've never seen before, but I didn't really know who he was. Like, at first I thought he was a bad guy, because he looked like a parademon. And then I was like, oh, so they're creating a storyline of a parademon betraying Darkseid. Okay, that's cool. But then when he said Martian Manhunter, I was like, what? That's Martian Manhunter? How did I not know this? How? And for me, when they did that scene, honestly, the only thing I could think of is Zack Snyder making a sequel to Justice League 2. Hopefully they do, because I want them to make it. But that was just a fantastic sequence. Also, one more thing before we get into the bad. Some of the CGI, I actually kind of thought it looked a little bit better than the original cut. Oh, and one more thing. As this is a rated R movie, you gotta talk about some of the bloody action sequences. There's literally a bunch of them in here. Especially when it goes back to the flashback that shows the scene where it's showing Darkseid's past. And what the mother boxes are. Like the scene where in the original cut where that guy is cutting the axe in Steppenwolf. Technically it's now Darkseid because he's the main villain, I guess. Like, Darkseid is getting bleeded out, and it's like, this is dark. And like, Aquaman literally kills people, and like, there's literally a scene where Wonder Woman chops off Steppenwolf's head. And I'm like, what? So all in all, some great action. So let's get on to the bad now. So the first thing I want to talk about for the bad is that this movie, the runtime is not great. Alright, I think that the runtime in this movie is way too long. And I just didn't like the runtime. I just don't understand why they had to make it so long. Like, I mean, I understand that this is Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I don't know why they made it so long. The runtime is, but I have heard somewhere that if you're gonna watch this movie, just act like that this movie is that you're watching. If you're just act like you're binge watching a TV show. That's kind of what people have been saying. But also, I also don't like how, like, until the Justice League comes together, I think that I don't like how it goes from character to character to character to character. Because it just feels a little bit overwhelmed at times. It's like, I feel like it's trying to be so hard like the first Avengers movie, and like that it doesn't need to be. So, I just did not like that part. But some scenes, like Wonder Woman, when they introduced her, I thought that scene was amazing. And even though it felt overwhelming, the scenes that introduced Cyborg and Flash, I still thought were amazing. So that's at least one good thing about it, that it jumps from character to character to character to character. Also, I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't get Darkseid fighting the Justice League. Now, I can understand that Darkseid is technically like this big DC villain, which is basically like, he's basically like Thanos, and he's like the DC version of Thanos and Apocalypse. Yeah. And they didn't use him much. They just put him in a backstory, and they didn't use him much. Steppenwolf was basically the main villain, but even though I liked Steppenwolf as the main villain in this movie, I don't know. I feel like they should have kept everything the same, because Steppenwolf, like, he felt like the leader of the parademons. He didn't seem like this guy that was just the sidekick of Darkseid. He didn't seem like that at all. Also, there's a couple of scenes here and there that I just were kind of confused with, but the storytelling here is pretty good. Like the scene where it goes with Batman, and you see like Deathstroke and Mira and Flash and Cyborg. It was a little bit confusing of what did that scene lead to, and it also leads into the next problem that I have, is that there's a couple of scenes in this movie where it shows Lex Luthor, and it shows Martian Manhunter, and even though those scenes set up things, I want to see them. I want to know what they are. Granted, we probably don't know what they are. We'll probably know that Justice League 2 is probably going to lead into the Darkseid storyline, but we don't know where this new League of Villains is going to lead into. But those are my problems with Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, before I give you my final score, be sure to tell me down below, what did you think about Zack Snyder's Justice League? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you right there in between? Let's get some nice discussions. Let's get some nice discussions going. With that said, let's get on with those scores. Alright, so that is it for my Justice League review. Well, Zack Snyder Justice League review. And, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My Instagram name is Marvel6, and my TikTok name is Marvel1Fan. If you guys don't understand those names, head to my about section to find those names, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.